Good evening and welcome to Front Page on AIM Network, India's definitive media organization and voice on everything AI and technology. Tonight, from homegrown speech tech powering global hardware to $1 trillion IPO in the making, and from Karnataka's AI cities to, well, New Delhi's deep tech billions. The future isn't waiting, it's being built right now. And here are the headlines for tonight. Sarvam AI has launched a production-grade speaker diarization system built on India's chaotic multilingual audio, and its Hindi voice tech now powers Ray-Ban Meta glasses, marking the first time a sovereign Indic speech stack enters global consumer hardware. OpenAI is quietly preparing for a landmark public listing as early as late 2026, targeting a valuation approaching $1 trillion just weeks after restructuring into a public benefit corporation that gives a non-profit mission control while unlocking unlimited capital to build AGI's scale infrastructure. Karnataka has approved a 300-acre gigawatt-scale data center hub in Tavarekere as part of a 1,000-acre acquisition tied to a statewide AI infrastructure plan, alongside 4 new satellite cities: Quinn, Swift, AI City, and Quantum City, designed to decentralize compute, expand research and development clusters, and build sovereign data and talent networks beyond Bengaluru. A year ago, deep tech. Today, he's well backing his words with 1 lakh crore rupees in research funding and a deep tech only startup fund. Good evening. From rant to, well, revolution. While the world chases text prompts, one Indian company is quietly turning voices into the next computing interface. Sarvam, the Bengaluru-based AI startup building India's sovereign language models, just dropped a major upgrade that could actually redefine how humans talk to machines. Sarvam has launched its speaker diarization model, now integrated into Sarika, which is speech to text, and Saras, speech to text to translate, both trained on India's most complex real-world multi-speaker audio environments. Think crowded call centers, healthcare consultations, or noisy government offices where 4 people speak at once, often in different languages. The new model doesn't actually just transcribe what's said, it captures who said what and when. It outputs time-stamped transcripts with automatic speaker identification and code mixing support. This makes, well, it a game changer for customer support and call analytics, tracking compliance tone and outcomes in real time. For healthcare and legal transcription, doctor-patient consultations and EMR integrations, enterprise meetings and journalism, that is structured, searchable, multi-speaker transcripts, all at, well, 30 rupees per hour with low latency APIs and free developer credits. The system isn't a demonstration, it's production ready. India's 1.4 billion people speak across 11 major languages and 2,000 plus dialects. Most global ASR, which is automatic speech recognition systems, crumble under the diversity, unable to handle code mixing like, well, मैं कॉल कर रहा हूं पर 1 minute wait karo. Sarvan's models don't just survive it, they actually learn from it. Trained on colloquial accented low quality 8K Hertz audio, the diarization model adapts to India's acoustic realities, from tea shop chatter to, well, courtroom clarity. It's this linguistic grounding that actually is now powering the world's next breakthrough device. In partnership with Meta, Sarvan's language technology now powers Hindi voice support on Ray-Ban Meta glasses. Users can actually speak in Hindi to capture photographs, ask questions, get real-time answers, manage calls, and control media, all hands-free. Meta acknowledged the collaboration in its official blog, calling Sarvam this, one of India's leading foundation model companies, end quote. This partnership brings India's voice directly into the global hardware ecosystem, on-device AI powered by Indic intelligence. The rollout includes Hindi language selection in Meta AI's device settings, plus region-first updates like UPI Lite payments via Hey Meta, Scan and Pay, a uniquely Indian use case demonstrated at the Global FinTech Fest. And in a cultural twist, users can now actually interact with Meta AI in Deepika Padukone's voice, English, and in Hindi, as the company expands its celebrity assistant lineup. Sarvam is building the speech infrastructure of a nation. Earlier this year, it unveiled Samvad, India's first multilingual AI agents on WhatsApp, enabling real time chat and voice in 11 Indian languages, powered by Meta's business calling API. These agents already handle customer service, lead qualification, and KYC operations for banks, insurers, and government programs. Now, with diarization and translation built into Sarika and Saras, Sarvam is closing the loop from understanding to action across both human and machine interfaces. It's also worth noting that Sarvam is one of the few startups under the India AI mission with access to 4096 NVIDIA H100 GPUs via YOTA, part of a national effort to build sovereign LLMs trained for India by India. Sarvan's evolution mirrors well India's AI journey itself. From code mixed chatbots to sovereign speech stacks, it's showing the world that, well, voice is not a UX layer, it's the next operating system. Meta gets India's 600 million voice first servers. Sarvam gets global reach for Indic models. And India gets its language moment on the world stage. This isn't just about beating OpenAI or Anthropic, it's about building the voice of 1.4 billion people. Joining us today is Sehaj Vark, Head of Strategy and GTM for Model APIs at Sarvam AI, India's homegrown frontier model company rewriting the playbook for sovereign AI. Sehaj actually sits at the crossroads of model innovation and distribution, shaping how India's most ambitious AI stack reaches developers and enterprises at scale. So before Sarvam, he was actually at AB InBev for 2 years, leading data-driven strategy and global resource allocation across markets. With experience spanning analytics, strategy, and product-led growth, he joins us today to unpack India's AI moment, the rise of indigenous model ecosystems, and how Sarvam is building for a billion user developer economy. Welcome to Front Page, Sehaj. How are you doing? And it's definitely great to have you with us.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the warm introduction and really looking forward to this session.
We are, of course, very, very happy to have you with us. There is, of course, so much to unpack. There is also a surprise for all the viewers who are watching because you have brought in all the goodies, I believe, Sehaj. But before we get into everything, I just have to start off with this, which is, well, last month, I remember speaking with Shruti Agarwal from your team, right when Sarvam launched Samvad. So AI agents that actually live natively inside WhatsApp and speak 11 Indian languages, I had just mentioned that. So that brings me to today's conversation, which is beyond Samvad. Sarvam has quietly been building some of the most advanced speech and diarization systems in the world, built on Indian data, trained on sovereign compute, and already powering real world products and global hardware. You must be feeling very proud with all of this, right? But before we dive into the demo and, of course, the technology, I have to ask
Now,
you this. Every few weeks, can you hear me, Sehaj?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. We are very happy. So every few weeks, there are new milestones, a new benchmark from Sarvam. You're rolling out models, APIs, enterprise deployments, global partnerships, and honestly, you're keeping all of us in the media and developer community fairly busy. So what does the internal culture, decision making, and execution rhythm look like, Sehaj, that actually allows you to move this fast without compromising quality? Basically, the question is this: how on earth are you shipping this quickly?
See, I think it's such a fast evolving space, right? And personally, I think for me and for the entire team at Sarvam, it's always so exciting to be working with developers, just not just like individual developers, startups, and enterprises, right, across the
Right.
board. The kind of applications that folks are building are so exciting, right? The kind of potential they have to impact someone's daily life, to drive productivity, or to just enhance the quality of life that we can currently
Yeah.
deliver. So, given that potential applications, given the scale that we can operate at, it just comes naturally to just keep going and keep shipping. So, yeah,
It must be a very inspired team, I must say, Sahaj.
absolutely. I think just, every day is like a hustle, right? You're working with a developer, you're trying to understand their use case, you're trying to understand what makes them be motivated to different industries, right? Because voice AI is applicable to everything and anything,
Sure.
right? Be it banking and finance, be it healthcare, you name the industry and voice AI has an application there.
Oh, yeah.
So just understanding so much, it's always exciting. Every day is new and you always have something more to look at and fix.
I am, of course, very excited to actually start off on this note, Sahaj, which is the India voice. Yeah, which is basically Sarvam has consistently said that India's voice data is the hardest in the world. So, which is full of code mixing, accents, background noise, and overlapping conversations, which is basically a good way to start our conversation because I'm going to hit you with the biggest problem first. And then, of course, you're going to be a genius in terms of going ahead and telling us how do you even begin to design a model for that level of chaos? What's the story?
See, I think it's very, very clear, right, that a lot of the state of the art models today are doing an excellent job at a number of use cases abroad, right? But India is very diverse, right? It's very
Hmm.
different, right? Culturally, language, every 100 kilometers that you travel, even within the same language, right? The way
Yeah,
someone speaks, the dialect, the pronunciation, it changes, right?
sure.
So the same kinds of solutions are usually difficult, right? When you have those differences that come up, right? The ability of a model to understand how you pronounce a certain word in Hindi in the north versus how someone pronounces it in the south, it's
Hmm.
difficult, right? And that essentially needs to be embedded, right, in order to support productionized use cases in India.
Sure.
That is where Sarvam comes in, right? We are very confident in our ability to build models that understand these nuances. Of course, I'm not saying we've solved everything. We are building towards it. A lot of the stuff we are
Hmm.
putting out
Hmm.
today is a step towards it. But the models that are built keeping in mind these nuances are the models that are going to be able to solve a lot of those language constraints, right? Be it even in terms of audio quality, let's say. India
Hmm.
operates
Hmm.
8 kilohertz telephony audio, right? So even let's say the audio quality, the accents, the dialects, the languages themselves, right? Those capturing and understanding those nuances either through speech to text or text to speech, it requires an Indian model. And that
Hmm.
is where Saram sort of comes in to push it through.
So fair. So basically, at the end of the day, there is a sense of affinity. I wanted to understand this. How does the specific you mentioned models? I want to go a little more specific. How the diarization model was actually trained on such diverse Indian audio.
Absolutely. I think, this is a very interesting story also. So it's been a long journey, especially with the speech to text models that we have. I think
Hmm.
some of you may be familiar. I think you introduced it also very, very beautifully. We have two models today. That
Hmm.
is Sarika, which is a regular speech to text model. And then we have Saras, which is a
Yeah.
speech to translate model. Both those models today support 11 Indian languages. With Sarika,
Hmm.
you speak in any one of those 11 languages, could be Hindi, could be Bengali. You will get an output in the corresponding script, right? Be it Devanagari for Hindi or whatever for the corresponding languages.
Hmm.
Similarly, with Saras, you speak in any of those 11 languages, it will understand what is being said, capture the intent, and translate that to English and transcribe it for you,
Okay.
right? Those are the two models we have worked on for time now, and working with builders on use cases where they can be applied has been a very enriching journey, right? Be it with just improving accuracy or quality on certain kinds of audio, be it in terms of introducing functionalities such as
Hmm.
language detection or timestamps, right? Each use case has its own nuance,
Yeah.
and in order to make anything successful, you have to deliver the best experience, right? Both in terms of quality, latency, cost across the board.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, while a lot of use cases like, let's say, conversational voice agents, right, they took off even with the regular endpoints we had. Or if you look at something like if someone wants to build an English language learning app, right, the regular
Hmm.
endpoints work really well as of today.
Hmm.
But there was another set of use cases that we came across very regularly where people were trying to build, innovate, and scale. Those
Hmm.
use cases included aspects like, let's say, call center analytics, right? Large
Hmm.
enterprises to understand that if they have agents doing calls, human agents doing calls, they want to understand what are the outcomes of those calls, right? Whether a
Sure.
particular scheme is working well or a particular pitch is working well, right?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
understand those nuances. You want to understand how customers are responding to that,
Hmm.
right? Similarly, even in, let's say something like healthcare, right? You have an aspect of electronic medical records coming up, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
You want to be able to understand, when a doctor and patient have a conversation for, let's say, an OPD consultation. You want to understand what was said by the doctor, you want to transcribe it, you want to understand what was said by the patient, you want to
Sure.
transcribe it, and ultimately gain clear insights from it.
Hmm.
This is possible through the Saras and Sarika APIs plus, let's say, an LLM on top of it.
Hmm.
But what could make it even better? Imagine if after the transcription, when you're passing it to the LLM model, you have the transcription in a way that it segregates the speakers, right? You know what the doctor said, you know what the patient said, as opposed to a single transcript, right?
Nice.
That is where the diarization model comes in. It
Hmm.
allows us to do that segregation, and ultimately it would allow the following LLMs or the following processes to work
Hmm.
that much better. Right? There's also, of course, a flip side or a different set of use cases where you just need to have transcriptions for audit or quality purposes, where
Hmm.
again, you need to know what was said by which speaker. So that has been a very recurring use case which kept on coming up. We saw that there was a need, there was a potential to
Hmm.
scale, there was a enthusiasm from number of startups, developers, and larger enterprises to adopt the same technology. They were already doing it with Saras Sarika, but there was a need to maybe improve the quality further.
Sure.
And that's where the diarization model comes in, right? It comes in as an additional feature on top of Saras and Sarika to enable a larger number of use cases, some of which I just spoke about.
Which is very, very interesting, Sahaj, that it not just obviously it gives so much clarity, not just to the voice, it also goes ahead and gives clarity to what is being discussed, what is being presented, etc. But of course, now it's that time where before we actually go any further, this would be the right time to actually talk about the demo for today, and kind of you to actually do that demonstration for all of us and our audience. We are very, very excited. So before we get into it, I would like for you to please just let us know what is the demo all about. Can you walk us through it?
I think today I'll, just share the Sarvam API dashboard. That's the one place where people can simply log in without having to write any code. They can experience the APIs. So I will bring up that dashboard. I'll walk you through it. I'll walk you through one sample or maybe two sample audios that we have and show you what a diarized output can look like.
Nice.
Throughout throughout the demo, I'll also highlight a couple of key aspects that maybe stand out within those audios. And
Hmm.
yeah, forward to it.
Nice. We're all set. We're excited.
Lovely. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Lovely. So what you see on screen is the Sarvam API dashboard. This is, like I mentioned, the one place where without having to write code, anyone can come in and experience the models that Sarvam has built. As of today, you'll notice on the left panel, there are 5 models that are up there. That includes our chat completions model or the LLM reasoning model
Hmm.
Sarvam.
Hmm.
There is the text to speech API, which we also call Bulbul. Then there is the two speech to text models we will be focusing on more today. And then finally, of course, there is the text translation model. Right?
I, of course, have to congratulate you on the christening of that particular model called Bulbul.
Hmm,
Nice.
absolutely. So I will just very quickly jump into the speech to text side of it. Again, as I mentioned, all you need to do is come here, simply upload one audio. I will just pick one of the two that I have here.
Sure.
This is Telugu audio, right, for
Hmm.
context. Also, later, maybe for the audience who is more comfortable with Hindi, I will also play one audio with Hindi.
Yeah.
All you need to do on the dashboard is you come here, you upload the audio, you set the language, and you enable speaker diarization. That's it,
Sure.
and you press generate. Right? It'll take a couple of seconds depending on the length of the audio. naturally, this is also one aspect that we will continue to improve and iterate upon. One key aspect to call out before I move further also with this is that
Yeah.
the diarization model works only with the batch implementation of both Saras and Sarika. There are, of course, reasons
Okay.
to why it's there, because real-time use cases will always want to prioritize latency, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the cases, the use cases we just spoke about
Mm.
for diarization are okay having longer audios or numerous audios collected over time, like a call
Mm.
center,
Mm.
and process them together in a batch. And
Mm.
that is where this implementation comes.
Okay.
So that's a little bit about where it's available and how the modes it is used in. The processing has completed, as you can see. What
Yep.
I will do now, I will just play the audio so that you can listen to it. For Telugu speakers, I'm sure you will understand it. And it will continue to highlight which portion is being said out at what moment, right? So let me just play this
Sure.
audio.
ఓకే, మనమందరం మొన్న ఒక ప్లేస్ని విజిట్ చేసినాంగా, దాని గురించి అందరం ఇప్పుడు మాట్లాడుకుందాం.
Sehaj, I would kindly request you to maybe increase the volume because we can't really hear it that clearly.
Oh, I think it's already on full volume.
Oh wow. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
దగ్గర మొత్తం తిరిగినాం కదా, అదేనా? ఆ ప్లేస్ గురించే చెప్తున్నా. నేనే చెప్పు, నువ్వేనా తీసుకోపోయింది?
మనము అన్ని తిరగలే, ఇంకా నెక్స్ట్ టైం ఇంకా కొన్ని ప్లేసెస్,
చాలా ప్లేసెస్ ఉన్నాయి మనం మిస్ అయినాయి కల్లా.
ఒక 20% ఏ ప్లేస్ నచ్చింది
నాకు? అది వెజల్స్ తో చేశారు కదా,
అది అక్కడ ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ లా ఉంది.
ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ ఇంకా ఎస్,
అది అక్కడ బాగుంది, ఫౌంటైన్ లా ఉంది అక్కడ.
ఇంకొన్ని మాల్స్ లో కూడా మనం ఇంకా వెళ్ళలేదు.
Stop it right there. I
Yeah.
hope that's audible. Um, some of the key aspects there. So this was Sarika, right? It was the
Okay.
regular text endpoint.
Hmm.
Depending on the language you select, that is the language in which the script would output.
Okay.
As you can see, as you go through the audio, it will identify the speech that is being said by a particular speaker. Again,
Sure.
using multiple different parameters, it can identify what is said by speaker 1, speaker 2, and speaker 3, and retain that context throughout the conversation.
Hmm.
Along with doing that, you will also notice that there are timestamps, right, above
Yes.
each audio chunk, right? So this indicates that it started from the 40th second and went up to the 51st second, right?
Fair.
That's one capability that is available here. I would also just like to play one more demo which highlights an audio in Hindi as well as English, right? So it's code mixed language being spoken in that particular one. For that implementation, I will very quickly switch screens to Saras, right, which is our
Hmm.
speech
Hmm.
translate API. Just give me one moment. Yeah, I hope my screen is now visible with speech translate written here.
Yes, it is, Sehaj.
Lovely. Let me just play this audio.
Yep.
हाय गाइस, कैसे हो सब लोग?
मस्त बढ़िया। आप कैसे हो?
चाय हो गया, खाना हो गया?
हाँ, सब कुछ हो गया।
कहाँ खाना हो गया भाई, टाइम ही नहीं मिलता है। इतना काम दे रखा है इन लोगों ने।
क्या
Was
खाए
there somebody at Sarvam who said that?
आपका?
No, no.
फास्टिंग पे चल रहा हूँ करके
अच्छा,
एक ही बार खाना खाता हूँ,
ओ
अच्छा।
सीधा नाइट में।
1 meal a day।
ये
One
क्या
meal a day।
नया वो फास्टिंग का चल रहा है, इंटरमिटेंट वगैरह, वो
Yes,
कर रहे हो आप?
एकदम इससे
16
पूरा
घंटे फास्टिंग सिर्फ 8 घंटों के बीच खा सकते हैं, वही कर रहे हो क्या आप?
क्या क्या फिर से बोलना?
16 घंटे फास्टिंग और 8 घंटे खाना।
नहीं नहीं नहीं, ऐसा कुछ डिसाइडेड नहीं है, काम के चक्कर में नहीं खा पा रहा हूँ।
भाई
आप लोग के पास तो काम है नहीं,
अपनी
आराम
सेहत
से
का
आते
ख्याल
हो।
रखा करो, क्यों ऐसे
सबका
कर रहे
काम कुछ नहीं कर रहे हो।
तुम लोग का सॉर्टेड है करके घर से खाना ले आते हो, बनाने का भी टेंशन नहीं है। यहाँ तो बाहर ही से देखना पड़ता सब कुछ।
हो? बहुत बुरा
अच्छा ये बताओ, अगर इस बार का जो आउटिंग का प्लान कर रहे हो वो कहाँ पे जा रहे हो आप लोग?
So again, I will stop it right there.
Why?
Couple
It was so intriguing. We were getting. No, I'm
So,
just joking.
yeah, absolutely. So a couple of key points
I
to
wanted
highlight.
to know actually where were they planning to go. Anyway, we'll discuss that later.
Sure, absolutely. So, a couple of key points to highlight here, right? So, this audio you noticed was in Hindi, right?
Yes.
There were aspects where the users spoke few words in English, right? If you would have noticed
Yes.
the
Yes.
beside he said in English, because again, India speaks colloquially, right?
It
People
does. Yeah.
speak Shuddh Hindi. People speak a mix of Hindi English or let's say Marathi English or any combination of languages, right? So one of the key aspects for us as part of these speech to text translate and speech to text models is to be able to understand those nuances and transcribe them also well enough, right? When the context of diarization, it becomes that much more important that even when speakers are sort of overlapping a little bit, speaking together, or there's noise in the background, because again, India,
Yeah, yeah.
people, there's a lot of traffic, right?
Sure.
There'll be cars honking if you pick up on the
Right.
road, and a lot of people are always traveling. So it's bound to happen at some stage. If
Yep.
you want to see, you have to capture those nuances. With the STT models and the STT translate models, along with the diarization, I feel we are at a very stable place as of
I
today.
have to also mention this, Sej, the quality in terms of the audio quality as far as the AI is concerned is quite sharp. Definitely
Yes.
quite sharp.
Yes, absolutely. One more other aspect, even numbers, right? Let's use say 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating, transcribes it well, right? It understands, although it was said in Hindi, retains the intent, translates it to English, and provides it to us.
Very valid point. Yeah.
And again, with both Saras and Sarika, timestamps are going to be available across the audio. Again, I know I'll be more than happy to sort of, with anyone who's interested, share these audios so that you can understand where they were planning to go also,
I
while
would
also
love that.
while also listening and figuring out the other nuances to it. So
Fair enough. Okay, so this actually, thank you so much for the demonstration, Sahaj. Which actually brings me to this, which is the developer adoption, for example. So when we spoke to developers recently, many said Sarvam's speech to text API is now actually one of the most popular and reliable in India, even preferred over global options for local use cases. So what do you think, Sahaj, has driven this developer trust and adoption? Is it just accuracy, or are there any deeper factors, latency, pricing, or for that matter, even data privacy, that makes Sarvam stand out?
I think you're very kind. Thank you so much. That really makes me very happy to hear that. But see, I think there's a number of aspects to it, right? First and foremost, I think we have a very long way to go in terms of not only improving the models, but how we approach developer relationships, right? I hope people have had a good experience trying out the API so far, and we will continue to get better on it, right? Be it through the dashboard, be it through the direct endpoints, right, that people are using, in terms of how easy it is to integrate, let's say, with other plugins that are out there, right? We'll continue to build those integrations and make that process even more seamless. In terms of, I think, what has worked so far, again, I just sort of have to go back to, of course, there is that aspect, like you mentioned, of benchmarks, latencies, cost, all of those things where
Yep.
we are trying to optimize. With Sarvam, I think one of the key focuses is to make sure and understand how we can, deploy these models at scales at low cost, right? Because India is a very cost sensitive market as well. So that remains one of the focuses for us. But, I think while all of that continues, the things that drive us towards each of those things also, including the benchmarks, is back to how passionate people at Sarvam are, right? I think people understand the kind of value that these bilingual models can have in voice AI, and the team has been working immensely well, right? Uh, be it collaborating with the developers at a very close level to understand those nuances, understand what they want to build towards, empathizing with those use cases, right? And
Nice.
it's very interesting because the use cases are always across domains, right? Every day it's not like I'm going to be looking just at a developer with BFSI, right? I'm going to be looking at BFSI plus
Yes.
medical plus legal plus continues. It continues and expands. Gig economy workers, so many use cases, right? Applications are practically limitless, and the key is to work closely with developers, right? Sarvam understands how to build models. I think our researchers are very comfortable, our engineers are very comfortable will continue to innovate and build, but understanding the nuances that need to be solved with every model iteration is important. I think that is something we will continue to do better and better. And yeah, I think that is the key towards driving adoption as well.
It's very interesting that you use the word empathizes, because for me that stands out, Sahaj, and speaks volumes about the culture at Sarvam, and also the fact that you said that everyone is on their toes and they're not just working with one kind of an issue, which also inspires probably the team to come up with solutions. Which actually brings me to this thought. I would like maybe a real world case, a use case in terms of, let's say, speech AI, which isn't just about transcription. It's about, well, unlocking real world intelligence. So where are you seeing the fastest adoption of Sarvam's diarization and STT technology? Point is, are banks, hospitals, and customer support, as we mentioned a little while back, centers already deploying these models at scale?
Absolutely. I think, see, with banks and call centers, folks are already using it, right? Maybe not only Sarvam APIs, but they're using a lot of stuff, right? Including what Sarvam is building. They're already deploying at scale, and I think they're seeing a lot of value come from it. Those are use cases that have picked up very, very well. One more use case, right, which I would love to talk about a bit more in terms of the kind of value it can add.
Sure.
We have seen a number of pilots that are happening where, like I mentioned, electronic medicine, in a doctor-patient consultation, a consultation lasts, let's say, 10 or 15 minutes on average, if not longer, right? As part of that consultation, our doctor is always going to spend, let's say, 2 to 3 minutes or maybe even longer taking some notes, writing a report, writing prescriptions. Imagine a world where this model is deployed and sitting in that conversation room. It is listening to the conversation, and that conversation could be in any part of India. It could be in Maharashtra in Marathi, it could be in Bengal in Bengali, it could be in Bangalore in Kannada. In any language, this device is there for any doctor, any hospital, any clinic. You listen to those, the model listens to those audios, transcribes them, and gets it an LLM in a format where speakers are also identified. Post which the LLM puts it in a structured format in a single button click for the doctor. Right? Now you're saving 2 to 3 minutes every consultation, probably longer. And what that ends up doing is, over the course of a day or the course of a month, the doctor probably has more bandwidth to look at more patients. Right? Ultimately, that is where we see the value, making a doctor's life more seamless, making it possible to cater to a higher number of cases. Similarly, in the call center analytics case, I think it's a lot more straightforward. It enables companies to understand insights across several thousands of calls that are happening in one. You don't have to go through them manually. You just have to pass them to a single API and get the outputs. So the kind of value that you can see, right? It's a lot about the efficiency that it drives across each of.
Fair enough. I mean, I think you've touched upon some very interesting areas, and crucial ones at that: healthcare, and the fact that you talked about finance. You talked about the call centers, which actually can make companies pivot as far as their you know future policies are concerned, or the way they are doing things, which is very interesting, Sahaj. The value addition that you're being able to bring, which actually also talks about the value addition that has happened recently, which is the meta collaboration. Let's talk about something that's making global headlines: Sarvam's partnership with Meta. Meta recently announced Hindi voice support on Ray-Ban Meta glasses powered by Sarvam's models. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. So, what does this mean in terms of the collaboration for Sarvam and for India's place in the global AI hardware ecosystem, Sahaj? And also, how close are we to a future where, well, Indic languages become standard on every AI device?
Yeah, I think, very, very interesting question there also. I think, see, one of the key aspects of driving AI adoption in India, and it's very critical, right? With any application you build, making sure that it's reaching a certain scale, making sure that it's adding value is extremely important. In order to do this, identifying the right ecosystem partners is equally as important, if not more. Because ultimately, these partners together are what are going to be able to build experiences that customers like, that Indians can relate to, and Indians would use on an everyday basis.
Sure.
With Meta specifically, I think I don't have to speak much. Everybody knows, right, what kind of powerhouse they are.
Right.
I think we understand Indian nuances and Indian data very well. And that leads to a very clear synergy between Meta and Sarvam. So again, that is, one of the things that we focused on, we worked on, and we'll continue to see how it progresses, and build upon the adoption for it also. But the aim remains to continue to build and identify across not only that one use case, but several others too.
But do you see the fact that it is going to probably, well, an Indic language will become standard moving forward, Sehaj,
Absolutely,
on
it has.
every AI device?
Absolutely, it has to, right? Maybe it has to be figured out how long it takes for us to get there, but it has to for a country like India, right?
Fair
If
enough.
you look at tier 2, tier 3 cities,
Yeah.
right, that is where we can, I think, drive a lot of impact at scale, transforming even or touching even daily lives of people.
Mm,
And for those people, it's always more comfortable to speak in a certain language, right?
sure.
Take, for example, learning English, right? So many people want to learn, let's say, either to apply to jobs or just to be a bit more fluent or for whatever reason, right?
Yes.
But again, they're not comfortable either approaching someone, or maybe fees for a tutor is usually high. Imagine if there's just a simple app that communicates with you in your native language, right? If you're familiar
Mm,
with Kannada, talks to you in Kannada, right? It explains to you in Kannada that hey, this is how a certain word can be pronounced, and it listens to you pronouncing it and gives you feedback in Kannada, right? So those
right.
are the kinds of things that will enable us to get there, and it has to be, right. Indian languages have to become the norm. I think it's only a matter of time until we reach there.
Fair enough. I think you touched upon something which is so important, and it makes one's confidence just go sky high, because communication and one's voice is definitely one of the most important aspects. And with this, Sehaj, you're empowering the people, which is a great endeavor. Which also, of course, I'm curious, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers who are the developers, the developer community watching this, I would like for you to maybe unpack what makes Sarvam's diarization model different from traditional ASR systems, one, and how does it handle overlapping speech, speaker identification, and multi language context switching in real time? And what were the hardest engineering challenges you had to overcome?
See, I think you already mentioned the hardest engineering challenge, which was in fact the overlapping speakers. I think that has been a problem that, in fact, even today, probably, there's a lot of room for us to still get better, even on the current iteration of the diarization model.
Hmm.
We'll continue to do that. I think with every model, be it Saras, Sarika, we started with V1, today we are at 2.5, right? We'll continue to iterate on every model and every aspect of those models. Uh, with the ASR and diarization model specifically, it's very important to understand, firstly, dialects, secondly,
Hmm.
accents in all the languages, right? Plus, of course, being able to do it even on low quality audio, either because the audio quality has a poor sampling rate, or maybe because there's a lot of background noise, right? With India, there could be, people at festivities, there could be
Sure.
people on the road, there could be people in markets or even in offices, right? In very crowded spaces with a lot of background noise.
Some offices also sound like markets.
Exactly. And that is where you need to be able to segregate, right? You need to be able to understand what is a speaker, who are the prominent speakers in a particular situation, and you need to be able to understand what is background noise, and you need to filter it out. So
Hmm.
those are the hardest problems for us also to solve, and we are continuously getting better at it with both Saras and Sarika, as well as the Diarization Model Club. With them, I think we've made good steps in the right direction towards that. But again, it will continue to get better and better with every passing month.
Okay. Uh, Sovereignty, extremely important, very critical. Sarvam has forever been a flagship company under India AI mission, Sahaj, backed by sovereign GPU, as I had mentioned earlier, infrastructure and national language datasets. So, how important is this sovereign approach, training models for India by India, in ensuring data privacy, cost efficiency, and linguistic inclusivity. And of course, what does it take to keep such large scale training grounded in India's compute ecosystem? That would be a challenge, I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely. And like you rightly mentioned, right? With how culturally diverse India is, it is essential, in my opinion, to have a sovereign model. Most of the other models out there do very well on number of use cases, right? Be it on ASR, text to speech, or even on reasoning. They do exceptionally well for the languages they are trained on. With the diversity that India has, with the number
Could
of
you kindly, maybe, if it would be nice for the viewers as well, Sahaj, could you do a comparison, maybe, just to give a reference in terms of what you just mentioned, along with Sarvam? Let's say if there is a direct comparison that you wouldn't mind doing.
so see, I would not want to call out specific models,
That's
but
okay.
see, I think let's take, for example, GPT or Gemini, right?
Sure.
The way they reason upon certain data or certain, let's say, transcripts, taking
Hmm.
in on the call center use case, the way they reason upon those things is very good when it comes to aspects of English or even Hindi. They're
Sure.
able to understand the context. They're able to understand the intent in those transcriptions, and they're able to derive insights from it very well.
Hmm.
However, when it comes on those same use cases for something like call center analytics, when it comes to an audio like Marathi,
Yeah.
uh, that is where, since again they don't have the same kind of context, so they're not trained on that kinds of nuances, that is
Hmm.
where there might be some loss, right? Uh, they might still do a decent job, but I would say they have a good way to go.
Hmm.
Being dependent on those models to improve in those areas, I think, is not good. Right? That is where
Okay.
there is a requirement for us to keep up pace, right, with the kinds of developments that are happening in those state of the art models, and doing them for Indian languages at the same time.
Fair.
So that is where the sovereignty becomes extremely important, and it becomes important for us to keep pace with the developments that are happening abroad, keep pace with the use cases, and make sure that the Indian population gets access at a faster and maybe at the same time as the other countries. So I think that becomes, a very important aspect. To enable this, of course, there is a heavy push required,
Hmm.
right? And you are seeing that, I think, as part of the India AI mission, right? The
Yes.
government, the push and the initiative to make those things happen. Naturally, like you rightly mentioned, compute is difficult, right? I think India
True.
needs to catch up in terms of the kind of computing power that we have, and the India AI mission is a very good step in that direction, which
Sure.
enables not only Sarvam but a number of builders to continue in that direction.
Yep. Yeah. Wonderful. The fact that at the end of the day, that is at the forefront of the vision at Sarvam is very encouraging. The fact that India should go ahead and get the solutions faster as compared to, well, the international models that you had just mentioned, which obviously keeps you guys on your toes and keeps you ahead of the curve, maybe. Of course, I have to mention this again. The demo was definitely fantastic. So, congratulations, Sahaj, on that one. You just, of course, showed how the model can separate voices, generate speaker labels, and even, well, translate on the fly. Unfortunately, we couldn't figure out where they were going, but you're putting that link, I'm sure. What kind of developer or enterprise access is available today? That's one. And can builders start experimenting with the Diarization API and Sarika suite directly from the dashboard?
Yes, absolutely. It is already up on our API dashboard. What I just showed you through the demo is available through our public website. All you need to do is go to dashboard.sarvam.in and you can try it out.
Fair.
Uh, in addition to that, the dashboard also links all the required developer documentation. So if someone wants to take the HTTP endpoint or, pass audios through it,
Hmm.
experiment with it, try to plug it into different orchestration layers or applications, they're free to do so. To anyone who signs up, Sarvam always readily provides 1,000 free credits, which for context should get you about 33 hours of audio processing. For
Nice.
anyone looking to build on top of it with innovative ideas, we are always open to collaboration and seeing, how we can better empower additional use cases.
Beautiful. That's wonderful news, and I'm sure a lot of the people watching would be quite excited to try it out. Which of course brings me to the next frontier, which is of course multilingual agents on WhatsApp to Sarika and now Meta partnerships. Sarvam is building, Sahaj, a complete voice first ecosystem. Simple logic, and the logical question is, what's next on your roadmap? And are we looking at real time conversational agents, on device STT models, or enterprise scale voice analytics?
I
Can
think,
you? Yeah,
yeah,
okay, there you are. I thought
I
I'd
think
lost you.
no, no, I heard you loud and clear. I
Okay.
think in each of those fields, right, there's a lot of work being done. I think each of them has good potential, particularly when you talk about on-edge devices. Also, it's a research focus for us. I think in some time maybe you will hear about it, and
Nice.
across domains, right? Even for enterprise analytics, we are continuing to figure out. I think as part of the India mission, we will be putting out some models out there in the coming few months, early next year, and a lot of those could potentially move us closer to those use cases as well. So
Fair.
be for sure, be on the lookout, and hopefully I can be back here too.
Oh, you sure for sure will be back because, well, like I had mentioned right at the top of this conversation, what is going on as far as you guys launching so quickly and shipping so quickly is concerned. So trust me, we do not have any doubts in that. And of course, exciting times ahead. The India impact. A lot of what you're building, multilingual transcription, translation, and voice AI, directly impacts India's next billion users, Sahaj. So, how do you see Sarvan enabling access, education, and entrepreneurship in rural or, well, semi urban India through these technologies?
Again, I think very critical for this would be the right ecosystem partners. I think if we find the people building towards that with the right intent and use cases, and we can enable them to do it, or perhaps explore certain avenues by which we can do it, the models are going to continue to be developed in that direction, where even, let's say, someone talking in very native Kannada or Marathi, the models can pick up on, right? Regardless of the accent, regardless of the kind of network in those areas. So that remains the focus. I think with the right partnerships, with the right applications, with the right experiences, once we can deliver them, I think we already do in a number of use cases, and we will continue to expand those use cases. I think it's very close that we will be able to touch all of those folks as well.
Wonderful. Sahaj, any final messages that you'd probably like to give? Uh, and of course, one last question. If you were to describe the organization, the team, in one word, what comes to your mind? Because these are very exciting times.
Word for the organization would be energetic. I think the
Nice.
kind of energy with which folks move, the kind of space with which folks move at Sarvam is sort of what sort of keeps me motivated. And I think one final message has to be that please do keep trying out our APIs. Please do keep providing feedback. Please do keep building on it, because ultimately the developer community is what enables the real applications while we build the models. So that's it.
Wonderful. Sahaj, all I have to say right at the end of this, the demo, the vision, and all of the things that are being done sound fabulous. And I wish you all of the luck, your team all of the luck. And of course, I will leave you with this final thought. Sab kuch saras hai.
Thank you so much for having me. Lovely talking to you, and enjoyed this conversation a lot. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. I'm so glad. And it was great fun having you with us on Front Page. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Sahaj. And of course, this is our final thought based on this conversation, the demonstration, and everything. Sarvam's diarization model, well, fixes one of AI's hardest problems, understanding India's everyday noise. And with Meta's Ray-Ban partnership, it's clear India's voices aren't just being heard, they're actually being warned. So, from WhatsApp agents to, well, wearable assistants, India's AI future will speak, not type. We're going to be taking a short little break right now, but when we are back, we're going to be back with lots more exciting news only on Front Page. Don't go anywhere, because till then, this is homework. Think AI, think AI.
We are AIM Media House. Born in Nama, Bengaluru. Built for the world. We make tech make sense. We tell stories that matter. This is the era of AI, and we are the ones telling its story. Think AI, think AIM.
Welcome back to Front Page. OpenAI has officially entered its next phase. Not another model launch, not a research milestone, but a move that could actually become one of the biggest IPOs in history. A listing that may value the AI lab at up to $1 trillion, Reuters reports. For a company born as a non-profit built on a promise to serve humanity and led by a CEO who holds zero equity, this is not a normal path. It's actually a mission entering the public markets because the mission needs capital measured in trillions, not billions. OpenAI began as a non-profit with a simple thesis. AGI should serve everyone, not shareholders. But the world moved faster than anyone predicted. Frontier AI scaled. Compute became currency. Nations entered the race. And OpenAI needed a structure that could actually raise capital without losing mission control. So this week, it completed the most audacious corporate restructure of the AI era. A $500 billion company recast as a public benefit corporation. Governance held by the OpenAI Foundation, investors with returns but not the power, and a CEO leading the AGI race without owning a single share. It's not irony. It's actually clearly design. It is mission over equity, safety over short-termism, and scale without surrender. So let's understand this a little better. OpenAI isn't actually chasing an IPO for headlines. It's actually chasing survival in an era where intelligence is infrastructure. Sam Altman has openly said it will take trillions to build the compute backbone for AGI and beyond. And it's clear that you can't raise that in venture rounds. You can't borrow it quietly. You have to go public when the mission demands it. It's fair to say going public is the most likely path for us, given the capital needs we'll have. End quote. This was said by Sam Altman. A first of its kind structure now lets OpenAI raise unlimited capital, while a non-profit keeps the steering wheel. This is capitalism rewired for alignment. This isn't just another tech IPO. It's like a blueprint. A non-profit controls the mission. A for-profit engine scales the frontier. A public listing fuels global compute expansion. And investors from SoftBank to Microsoft to MGX get rewarded for believing early in the most consequential technology of our time. Meanwhile, the OpenAI Foundation accumulates wealth to fund safety, resilience, medicine, and open scientific progress. Profit becomes fuel for alignment, not a threat to it. The timeline. Well, insiders expect a filing in late 2026. CFO Sarah Fryer has actually floated 2027. But the signal is quite clear. OpenAI is not preparing to be acquired. It is actually preparing to define a market. The AI stock era won't peak with NVIDIA and CoreWeave. It will crystallize when OpenAI rings the bell. So finally, the internet era created trillion-dollar companies. The intelligence era is about to crown one built on a paradox. A trillion-dollar company led by someone with no equity, designed to serve humanity, financed by Wall Street, governed by a non-profit, and racing to build AGI before anyone else can. So if this works, OpenAI won't just be the biggest IPO in history. It will actually be the moment capitalism learned to fund intelligence without letting it rule it. The AGI era won't start with a product launch, might just start with a filing on the US SEC website. Stay tuned, because the world's most important company is about to test the public markets and rewrite them. Karnataka just made a move that actually captures the state's new identity, not just India's tech hub, but India's compute capital. It approved a 300-acre gigawatt-scale data center park in Tavarekere. And on the same development arc, it's rolling out 4 next-gen satellite cities designed around AI research and innovation. While other states are pitching tax holidays and free land, Karnataka is doing something far harder, re-architecting geography around compute, talent, and intelligence infrastructure. The Tavarekere Data Park isn't a standalone project. It's actually the root node of a distributed AI infrastructure model. A 1,000-acre acquisition with 250 to 300 acres dedicated to, well, a hyperscale hub wired into 25 to 30 megawatt edge data centers across Mysuru, Hubballi, Belagavi, and beyond. Instead of building one giant AI city, Karnataka is actually building a compute constellation, a hub and spoke network serving workloads where data lives, and economies rise. Because, well, clearly in the AI economy, latency is currency and proximity is power. So this is how you actually build sovereign compute, not just racks of GPUs, but urban systems orbiting intelligence infrastructure. So when we step back a little, the vision becomes clearer. And here it is. Queen City, universities, hospitals, research parks. Swift City, startups, fintech, innovation clusters. AI City, 9,000-acre intelligent township for AI industries. Quantum City, deep tech and quantum research campus. These are actually not just real estate brochures. They are actually macro bets on what India must specialize in next. That is, talent production, sovereign compute, frontier research, startup acceleration, deep tech manufacturing, and a future where Bengaluru isn't the tech capital alone. Karnataka becomes the compute state. So like all ambitious development waves, this one carries friction. Well, farmers in Sarjapur and Bidadi are protesting. Urban planners warn that clustering too close to Bengaluru could widen regional inequality. And that's the governance test. can Karnataka actually create new economic gravity without hollowing the hinterland? Because the next decade isn't just about cities competing, it's actually about states competing for compute, talent, and capital. And of course, that brings us to this, which is for 30 years, India built IT parks and called it progress. Now, the game has changed. Today's infrastructure isn't just glass towers and tech parks, it's sovereign data grids, edge compute rings, quantum labs, and AI cities. And Karnataka is betting that the future of economic power belongs to the places that control, well, data, compute, and talent density. Where Silicon Valley built the internet, Karnataka wants to build the intelligence backbone of India. If it works, Bengaluru won't just scale, it will actually clone itself. If it fails, I hope not, the lesson will be equally important. Either way, this is the boldest city building experiment in India's technology history. In a world fighting for GPUs, Karnataka is building the land where the GPUs will live. And finally, on front page, do we all remember when Piyush Goyal publicly blasted founders for building delivery apps over deep tech? Fast forward, he's now unlocked India's biggest deep tech war ever. That wasn't a rant, it was actually a wake-up call. India just made a move that perfectly captures its ambition. At TiEcon Delhi-NCR, while global markets obsess over GPUs and frontier models, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal laid down a very different kind of benchmark. Technological sovereignty is the next trillion-dollar race, and India is done renting its future from, well, foreign innovators. Clearly, it was a strategic doctrine for the next 25 years. So over the last decade, India built the world's most powerful digital rails from, well, 250 million internet users to, well, 1 billion. Connected Indians, DBT, Aadhaar, UPI to governance at population scale. 25 crore people lifted from poverty via direct welfare rails. That first revolution made India the backbone of global software. The next one aims to make India the brain of global deep tech. Not a service factory, not the world's back office, but the engine room of frontier innovation. Goyal's message was blunt. India must reduce dependence on foreign technology, weapons, energy, and inputs. Because in a world of supply chain wars and semiconductor choke points, sovereignty isn't military anymore. It's actually technological. India can't rely on imported chips, foreign defense tax, or external clouds when AI, quantum, and cyber are the new battlefields. The era of assembly line Swadeshi is over. This is IP Swadeshi, compute Swadeshi, innovation Swadeshi. To prove that it's serious, India announced a moonshot, 100,000 crore Anusandhan Fund, which is approximately $12 billion equivalent to that. But with actually India's talent cost advantage closer to $100 billion plus in innovation output. And there's more. Startup Fund of Funds 2.0 dedicated entirely to deep tech founders. So India's innovators don't dilute their companies to foreign capital before they scale. Think of it as India's DARPA moment, but built on democracy, inclusivity, and national pride, not secrecy. India produces 15 lakh engineers per year, 24 lakh STEM graduates annually, highest STEM talent pipeline on the planet. Silicon Valley isn't just watching, it's recruiting, relocating, and betting big on Indian engineers. Now, India wants to build for the world from the world's largest talent base, not just code for someone else's roadmap. This shift isn't about actually shutting doors, it's about building our own doors and manufacturing the hinges. So from semiconductors to space, AI to quantum, defense tech to energy tech, India is signaling a tectonic shift. Global leadership isn't given, it's designed, engineered, and sovereign. And for once, policy, capital, and ambition are aligned. So finally, India built the rails that powered the digital century. Now, it wants to build the engines that run the deep tech century. From software exporter to intelligence exporter, from cloud consumer to, well, compute builder, from startup nation to sovereign tech power. In Goyal's words, India is not a shipment meant to stay safely in harbor. It's actually time to sail, innovate, and command the frontier. The world built on Silicon Valley might just meet the century built in Bharat. And well, ladies and gentlemen, with that, it's time to say good night on Front Page. And of course, this is on AIM Network, India's definitive organization on everything AI and technology. Front Page is powered by MachineCon 2025, an invite-only residential summit for GCC heads, well, exclusively brought to you by AIM Network. It's time for us to say bye-bye. Until we meet again on Front Page, I just have to say this, which is, think AI, think, yes, AIM.